protest element of my work, I think, involves sort of my reaction and my interpretation of the extraction of emotion, and that we're socialized to continually downplay our anger and downplay our sadness. And so in an act of protest, I basically throw these emotions in front of you. You know, I frequently get asked, why won't you, when are you going to do a happy painting? And the thing is that I consider all my work to be happy. It's what makes me happy. I know that it makes other people happy. To finally feel represented or to be seen, is a pretty powerful thing. And so I kind of feel like as a society, and certainly within the art world, as we become more conceptual, we remove emotion from artwork, which for me just doesn't, that's just not my style. That I feel that my goal in my work is to get you to sort of feel those emotions that you've either, been socialized to remove, or some teacher told you, something, or some parent told you that you can't be angry or you can't be sad, that's bad. And I believe that in the act of not feeling those feelings, you can't actually experience your life. Or at least I know that I haven't been able to. So I think that what I'm trying to do is really inspire that compassion that I think ends up as a result of feeling a full spectrum of emotion. You become a more compassionate person, and we live in a more compassionate world.
Far back as I can remember, I was always being mistaken for a boy. But at that time, kids are very cruel, and kind of trying to beat me up at school, pushing my books out of my hands and teasing me and calling me names. And I became very depressed, and felt very isolated. And my parents became concerned, and the teachers at school and the social worker at school, recommended that I see a psychiatrist. And the person said, well, really, the only thing you can do is lock her up. Their primary concern and their thought about my depression was that if I would just learn how to be more feminine, then people would stop teasing me, right? So basically what lands me in the hospital is that my parents are concerned. But within 15 minutes of being admitted, I see this doctor. Literally, I've never met this man before in my life. He doesn't know anything about me. I sit in a room with him for 15 minutes. He walks out, and I have a copy of his handwritten notes from that initial meeting where he says that I have gender identity disorder present since grade 3.
So at the age of 15, or roughly 15, my parents had me institutionalized. So this meaning that they saw me as going into a space where I was going to learn how to love myself and hopefully become a happier person. And the doctors sort of took upon themselves that they saw the cure for my depression to be if I would just learn how to be more feminine, then the world would treat me better and I'd have no reason to be depressed. But and actually maxed out $1 million insurance policy, which is something that that comes up in my work a lot, just about class. And that I was institutionalized also as that it was a privilege. That had I been a youth of color, I think the reaction to me would have been much different. They may not have felt I was worth fixing. And a lot of those issues, such as class and racism and things like that, also come up in my work. But yeah, so I spent, roughly until 5 days after my 18th birthday in 3 different facilities, never really dealing with my depression, never really, addressing the real issues of, sexual abuse by neighbors, nothing that was real, that they would spend, 4 years basically trying to make me more comfortable for them instead of me more comfortable for myself. And as a result, has sort of, it's been a lifelong struggle, sort of like dealing with, first of all, figuring out that I'm queer, because I never really came out as queer during that time because it wasn't a safe space. Never really came out as being trans. That's a later sort of endeavor. And as I evolve as a person, just that really my strength has always been that this need and this desire to just maintain my own identity. That I know that at any time when I'm not being myself, I'm at the most risk, or the highest risk, certainly, of suicide myself. That I've been in this constant state of saving my life. I wrote a book sort of chronicling my time in the mental hospitals called The Last Time I Wore a Dress. And while I was writing that book, I was reading all of my charts and producing a lot of artwork throughout the process. So the father one over there, it's called Family Photo. There's the center of the piece that's very much like a tree trunk, kind of, and washed out. It's sort of got things, projecting out of it. But then right in the abdomen area, it says "Swallow the Secrets," which I thought was really profound, because that's part of what I was thinking about, I think, was the fact that, like, when you're in an institutional situation like that, the stigma that's attached to that, and that system is very aware of the stigma that you're about to, embark upon in the rest of your life, that they actually train you and encourage you not to talk about it. I remember making a conscious decision at 19 years old that I would never lie. That it was, this act of sort of swallowing those secrets and pretending that life didn't exist that was going to kill me.